Hello guys, so this video I guess is pretty important to me. I'm filming this before I actually upload the film onto YouTube, but if you're watching this, then I'm assuming that you've seen the short film that I made today as a gift. And it's probably one of the more important things I've done in my life, I guess, because it really confirmed to me that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Making films is what I want to do, and that's really now it's just trying to make as many good films and have them be seen by as many people as possible, and that's the goal. And I guess this video is just going to be me talking really in depth about the process of this film and what I did to get it made, how I got it made, and all that, and telling you my story, because I did work with a really professional casting crew. A big step from the first short film that I did with my friends. It was just like me, three other guys, three other actors, and a cameraman, and that was it. Whereas with this film, I was working with upwards of 30 people. And so I would love to share my story and how I managed to make this film with you, because I think that, I certainly learned so much. And I think that what I'm about to say, many of you guys who might want to be filmmakers as well, could learn a lot from my experiences, my triumphs and my failures. So quickly, before I actually do like this in-depth shot-by-shot analysis of the film, a quick chat about the process itself and how I got it made. So this film essentially was made because I wanted to use it as a portfolio piece to get into, to film school. And, whether it's in the UK or the US, just all over the place. And so I knew that when I came back to Thailand, which is where I am right now, I had 2 months of summer holiday to make a good film, basically. And I had no clue what I was going to do. And so really that first month, the whole of July, was working with... Right, so let me tell you how I actually managed to get all these professionals together. A family friend who used to work in the film industry, has made some really great films, has been a part of some really great films. She knew that this is what I wanted to do, this was my dream, so she wanted to help out. And so she, who is my executive producer, worked with her son, who is my producer and my co-writer, to really just get all these professionals together that they knew from, their past experiences, and she used to work a lot with them. And basically I was lucky enough to get, professional production managers, casting directors, sound engineers, cinematographers, costume designers who have been working in the industry for decades. And so I was really lucky, and I got to learn so much from them. And really that first month was coming up with a story, putting it out, in words and onto a screenplay, doing the storyboard, doing location scouts, going to all the locations where we filmed multiple times. And by the way, I was really lucky because a lot of the interior shots we filmed at my aunt's house, which is like 20 meters down the road, and the factory stuff was my dad's factory because he owns a printing and publishing company, so we used his factory. And so location wise, it was relatively simple. But yeah, just getting those storyboards done, making sure that we got a cinematographer, of course, and I went to all the locations with him, briefing him on the look of the film, working on it together to really come up with a look that was right, and the camera work and what equipment we were going to need and use. Working with costume designer, making sure that each of the characters' clothes worked and fit with the story, and of course with the production manager, with the casting. Right, we were lucky enough to get 2 really famous members of the Thai film industry. Like, if you're from Thailand, you'd probably recognize the guy who plays the middle-aged man and the guy who plays the old man. They're relatively well known, and so I was really lucky to get them. But also we cast this amazing child actor. We cast this also really amazing character who plays someone else in the film, which I'll talk about in a bit. But really the casting process was really fun for me because I'd never done it before. But yeah, I think we were really lucky with the casting. And yeah, just overall, like, also the production manager, working with her to really make sure that everything went as smoothly as possible. And we had to make sure that all these different sets looked looked proper, and clear out stuff that didn't need to be there, repaint walls, dress the set with all this stuff. Like, again, I'll talk about this more when I actually look at the film, but that first month was just a lot of work. I basically spent at least 3 hours a day, every day, working on this film in one way or another. And then of course we shot for 2 days, August 4th and August 5th, and from then on it was basically just editing. And I guess I'm not going to talk too much anymore before I actually show the film, because a lot of the stuff that I will say will be talking about the film, my ideas for it, and telling you stories about each scene, I guess. So let's just begin. I'm going to mute this, by the way, because it's a pain to edit if I don't mute it. But yeah, so this opening scene, I'm just gonna pause right here. This opening scene was a really, it was a last minute decision to add in. It was like the second or the last day of editing, basically, and I was like, why don't we try this? Oh yeah, by the way, I'm guessing a lot of you probably aren't gonna get the ending, and I showed this to a lot of families and family and friends, and a lot of them had different interpretations for the ending. A lot of them, some of them did get it right and just get it right away and predict the entire thing, but most people didn't really get it, or they kind of had different interpretations and got parts of it. I'm not gonna tell you what the ending means. Because the whole point was that we wanted to leave it up to interpretation, and whatever you think is the ending means is what it means for you, and that's kind of what we were going for. There is a right answer, and we did put a lot of clues in the film as to what the right answer was. And I guess maybe if you watch it, you try and rewatch it, I guess, and you can see what the answer is to the. And I put it in the comments, and I'll see if you got it right. But essentially, this first scene, we wanted to kind of set up this mystery that would, in a way, be answered later on in the story. And this was, let's just press play here. This is the fourth actor that we cast. Really collaborative, really nice guy. We have some nice lens flare there in the top left by a cinematographer. He's whistling, which, by the way, was the whistle of our producer, because the actor didn't know how to whistle, so we have to add that in later. And then we cut to this shot which was the original opening shot of the film, of our boy character, or B as I'm going to call him. From now on I'm going to call him B, M and O for boy, man and old man. That's what we call them in the script. A lot of things to talk about with this shot. This is probably as long as I'm going to spend on one shot, but first thing was that we wanted to really separate these characters and show them as individuals. Through color and camera work, and so you'll notice that the boy's room B is lit with this kind of reddish light and then we color graded it with a bit more red, and of course the blanket is red and there's a lot of red, and then with M it's all blue, with O it's all yellow, and really we wanted to separate them through the colors, and then the colors kind of come together really or become more extreme as the film progresses, as the story progresses. And of course the other two colors we have are green and orange, which you'll see in a bit. So really we wanted to separate them through color. Another thing was camera work. So you'll notice that B is shot on handheld. We wanted to have his story as sort of gritty and realistic and really sort of have a more sort of human feel to it, as opposed to someone like M, which we'll get into in a bit. But for the most part, B is shot on handheld. And then as the story progresses, he becomes shot in locked down on a tripod or a jib or a dolly. Whereas with M, there's like one shot of his which is handheld, the rest is all locked down. And with O, there are little bits of handheld, bits of locked down here and there. One or two more things. This was in my aunt's house. We shot this. This was actually her housekeeper's room. We made it look a lot worse because we wanted to establish that he wasn't very rich and he didn't live in a nice family. And actually all the room, B's room, M's room and O's room are actually like right next to each other. So it was like the easiest day of filming basically. We just like moved 3 meters for the next setup. Also you'll notice, I'm just going to press play here, you'll notice that the posters on the wall, the posters of the music, which we'll see in more detail just a bit, this was a great idea by our producer, but they're kind of shaped to look like a thought bubble, like in a comic book, so that it kind of shows that it's always what he's thinking and it's always on his mind. And another nice detail that we were kind of lucky to have, a lucky mistake basically, was those posters you'll notice are right next to posters of like monks who, if you're from Thailand, you'll know that monks, Buddhas, really important and well-respected, highly regarded members of Thai culture and community and society. And so having these posters next to the monks are a really nice way of showing the importance of the posters comparing to his actual religion. And so in a way the posters are his religion, and here you see that we are establishing his relationship with his mum. His mum isn't supportive of his ambitions to be a musician, and she's not very nice to him basically. And I really wanted to highlight, not too much because it's not that relevant to the story, but I wanted to show that he really is alone in this, and that he hasn't really met anyone who's able to give him the advice that he needs. And really when you have someone looking down on him, that's fine, right? Like, people doubt you all the time, but when it's your parents, it hurts a lot more, and the impact is a lot more. But really going with, I was kind of influenced by Wong Kar-wai throughout the entire film, because I love his films. In The Mood for Love, if you've seen it, you never see the face of Tony Leung's wife or Maggie Cheung's husband, because they're not really relevant to the story. And so here, you never see the mom's face, and whoever is negative to these characters, you never see their face, you just hear their voice, because they're not relevant, and they should be ignored, you know. And really, I wanted to show that his relationship with his mom is not good, so to really hammer home the point that he is alone, and he's isolated. And also, please notice the red, sort of slightly, ever so slightly neon red light coming from the mirror, really, which is the mirror is a symbol for the film. All three characters have a mirror in their room, and the state of the mirror reflects the state of the character. It's something we tried to do, and is kind of a slight clue as to the twist, to the ending. But really, the red light for the boy also suggests that for me, I use it as like because number one, because it looks really cool, but number two, because I wanted to show like that red in this scene right here is not that strong, and it kind of is a metaphor for our boy here, who his passion for music is getting lost in this sea of dull, grayish, you know, color palette, and it's not the thing you see first, and it's not the focal point. And later on in the film, at the end, you'll see that the room is completely lit in red to kind of show that his passion has really completely taken over, for better or worse. And here we have, press play again, our boy putting on his trousers. Originally, we had him just without a shirt and boxers, but it took too long to put on both shirt and trousers, so we just kind of had him have the shirt already on and then put on the trousers. Looks at the posters again to really hammer home his point of like how much he loves it. A nice old TV there that kind of serves as a clue to the ending. And then we cut to a shot of M. Now, this shot I think is one of the more, I guess, ambitious shots, because it's really long and it will probably bore a lot of people, but that was kind of the purpose, because he lives a really, really boring and monotonous life, and nothing happens, and his room is completely empty. Now, when I was writing the script and talking to my producer, we really looked at Robert De Niro's apartment in Heat, and I also was really inspired by Michael Fassbender's apartment in Shame with the production design. Really empty, really white, really cold, this Fincher-esque blue color grading here, a lot of which was done in camera by a cinematographer. Pause here, a couple of things I need to talk about. You might notice that first of all, to really hammer home the point, we do it in one shot, one single frame. Our cinematographer, originally we had planned to do it slightly differently, but our cinematographer came up with this idea, said that if we could tell this guy's boring story in one really still shot that does not move, it's probably more effective. And it worked out a little bit better in my opinion than the panning that we had planned out. That was one thing. The color palette is another thing, and also he just eats noodles. Like, his life is so dull and it's so fake. He doesn't even eat real food, you know, and you can see it, there's just noodles stacked there and there's nothing else. And also you might notice, if you go back, that he takes the flavorings out of the noodles, because to really emphasize that his life is really dull and boring, and he just sits there and eats in this apartment, this kitchen, that just, it makes him, although he is the central focus of the thing, he's always moving here and there, and it makes him feel isolated, but also claustrophobic, because really, that's him, that's it, that's all there is in his life. And it's all in this one frame, and he eats the noodles. And now this noodle eating scene, he doesn't eat it, but like, as he stirs, this was influenced, I guess, by the pie eating scene in the Ghost Story, where Rooney Mara just eats pie in one take. We didn't obviously do it for that long, but, you know, it was kind of influenced by that. Now, we cut to a shot of O, who, this actually, pause here quickly, this original scene was extended, but when I tested it with families and friends, they didn't really like what came before. And so I just kind of cut it down to here, really, which was what I wanted to show here again, separating the characters through color. He's lit in this yellow light. His life is, there is a warmth to it, but I think there is, and I was saying this to my actor, I really wanted to show a look of regret and emptiness in his eyes, that he's kind of come to the realization too late to really follow his dreams. And that, you can see that right there, conveyed so well by our actor there, and you know, there isn't much in his life, and he regrets that he didn't take the chances that were given to him. Now, we cut to a really nice wide of some of our factory workers, a quick story about this, walking into the factory. Now, this shot was one of the harder ones to orchestrate just because there were a lot of people. And you'll notice that there's like a forklift being driven around in just a bit. But essentially, what I said to my cinematographer was I wanted to show these characters as ants. You know, they're really insignificant. They need to rely on one another. There's no sense of independence. There's no sense of uniqueness. They all wear the same thing. They all look similar. And they feel like a really small part of a much bigger world. And so essentially, I want to show this character, this protagonist, as irrelevant. And so after a while, like, you know, we're filming him in wides, and then slowly it becomes close-ups because he becomes more relevant into the film. But really, all these people, with the exception of our actor there, are actual factory workers who work at my dad's factory, and I know them all, and they were kind enough to help out. And yeah, so that was yeah, you can see the forklift there in the background as well. A couple more people walking in here just, you know, for the sake of realism. And then, wow, who do we have there? Some rather mysterious figure who stands out from the crowd. Where might we see him later, or where have we seen him before? That is another clue to the ending. Really nice shot here that we also shot on the factory, but it's meant to look like a park, basically. We have our old man, our O, sitting there as he does every day, as we later find out. He's approached by this mysterious figure who, you know, looks pretty cool. Nice outfit there, nice suit. And a lot of the extras walking around in the background, which is people who are helping out. Like, that's my aunt, that's our storyboard artist, that's the factory manager, who's also my cousin, that's my mom, that's my dad. And then here they're talking about really just the repetitiveness of life. He's reading the news on his iPad. His expertise of technology is another clue to the twist, to the ending. I'm going to leave a couple subtle hints here and there as I talk to you guys about it. But, you know, I wanted to do this kind of, that's also our factory manager. I wanted to push in slowly, you know, and this was something, I guess, the use of long takes, I was really inspired by Steve McQueen and M. Night Shyamalan, really, and I wanted to separate long takes. I didn't want to make them all the same. So, for example, that opening long take of our boy that you saw was kind of Lubezki inspired, I guess, with his work with Cuarón and Iñárritu, you know, the more handheld panning style of long takes. Where this one, just the slow push in as they're talking. That's our producer, that's our casting director taking a selfie there. The guy's basically asking him a ton of questions about his life and how he regrets his life and the mistakes that he's made and or the lack thereof of action that he's done in his life. We slowly push in as they talk. And, you know, as the conversation gets a little bit more, I guess, more heated or more intriguing, I don't know. But then we slowly push in, and then we cut to a reaction shot because he's really taken aback by the fact that this guy's asking him all these personal questions. But the guy kind of feels slightly accomplished, I guess, because he's managed to get this reaction out of a guy who's so reactionless, been so reactionless for the entire conversation. And then we get to this nice locker shot. We actually have to drill, like, take out the back locker and put the camera there. Yeah. Let's keep going. Right, so this letter, this letter was one of the later things that we added into the screenplay because I wanted to have this letter scene because essentially he gets a raise, right? And if you look at his face, he gets a raise, which the purpose of this I'll talk about in just a bit, but let's wait for his reaction. He gets a raise, he gets more money, but he's not so, like, interested in it. His life is so boring and dull that he's not even cared when he gets paid more money. There is absolutely no purpose whatsoever. Nice shot there, by the way. Like I like the nice shadows our cinematographer managed to get with the lighting from the side. But basically, this is one of the, I guess, the less relevant scenes in the film. You could cut it out, but I think that having him... We gave him that letter because we wanted to give him something to lose. We wanted to make sure that if he were to quit his job in pursuit of a music career, that there is something to lose. There is a risk to it, that he might not make it and he might run out of money. And that's why he gets a raise. We give him something to lose. But yeah. He walks out, again, really nice shot, framing from our cinematographer, walks into the factory. We slowly move the camera up to really show the scope and the scale. We use the jib here, like one of those cranes, which, by the way, we were so lucky to get. I have no idea how I'm just really lucky. Some really nice shots of the machinery that our cinematographer got just in case, and our editor put them together in a really nice way, and the rhythm really works here, I think, I hope. But yeah, and then, again, the machinery in this scene, well, kind of shows, I think the fact that we chose to have him work at a factory was because we wanted to show that these machines are kind of like him. And this is something that's going to be emphasized a little bit later on as well. But we wanted to show that his life is a machine. There is no uniqueness to it. There is no breaking the mold, the pattern that has been set. And here he's just working with a bunch of other people just like him. He doesn't really stand out, you know? He doesn't really stand out, which was quite hard because our actor here is a big star. I guess if, you know, like imagine Ryan Gosling working at a factory, it just doesn't feel like it. But you guys don't know who he is because, you know, most of you aren't familiar with Thai cinema, but he is relatively well known. And here we have a shot of our boy playing the guitar. Those notes were made by a family friend. Thank you very much for that. And we got this guitar. We got two. We had our art director, our prop master, who doubled up. He was the storyboard artist, and he doubled up as the prop master. Really aged this guitar and really make it look like horrible, as if it was just found like in the garbage, you know. And he's kind of practicing his music at home or around his home, and then in walks this bully, essentially this kind of thuggy character who is actually played by our producer, but we never see his face, breaking the guitar basically, and again really hammering home the point that this kid has nothing. Like, his life is shit, but the naivety and the naive need to succeed and the dream to succeed is what keeps him going. That passion, that fire within him is constantly being, you know, trying to get put out, but he perseveres, I guess. I mean, it's lucky that he perseveres because as certain events unfold, but really this is an all-time low for him because not only does his parents not care about him, the things he needs to succeed are being destroyed left, right, and center. And we're really just hammering home the disappointment. Now, this shot I'm really proud of because I think it's really nice. Great job by our cinematographer, by the way. Couple things about this shot. We wanted to really show a couple things here. Number one, that it's nighttime, you know, that there's been sort of a time jump, I guess. The isolation of our character and how his colleagues don't care about him, don't even acknowledge his existence as they leave the factory to go home. And he's working the night shift, he's isolated, and again, this shot is relatively important because, again, a little hint to the ending. Again, I'll come back to a shot like this, but just notice this shot and how it's completely still and it doesn't pan up. And then he walks in to start working the night shift. Now, we had this shot, which was a massive pain to execute. This is probably the most interesting story about the shooting day, I guess. When I went on the locations scout to look with my storyboard artist and my cinematographer and producer, I love that sky, you know. This was shot at around 7 p.m. and that sky was just so beautiful, and as you'll see, it contrasts really nicely with the orange light. I wanted to show that sky, and we just had to keep waiting because it wasn't the right time. And okay, he's getting really angry because his guitar was just broken. But that, okay, notice who's walking there. You might have something to do with the ending. But that sky, and then we had to wait, and then we ended up only getting to do one take basically because the first take I forgot that guy needed to be in, so we had to quickly, you know, do his hair and makeup and get in here quickly. And so we ended up only doing one take, but I guess it was a bit of a misjudgment from me, kind of waiting that long. I should have done a couple takes earlier. That was probably the biggest mistake I made. Some really nice lens flare from the light that our cinematographer added. That light wasn't actually there. He just put it in. He hears the song. Okay. The song choices in this film are very, very, very deliberate and very intentional. And not only do they serve as a metaphor for their characters and their lives, they serve as a clue to the ending. That's probably the biggest clue aside from other stuff that you'll see. But obviously, a big plot hole that my dad said to me right away is that kids are not allowed in factories because it's dangerous for health and safety reasons. So we had to have this shot of him looking at the guard, like, you know, the guard who's asleep, and then he can go in. Otherwise, it would have been like a big plot hole for factory experts around the world, I guess. Now, this shot, we wanted to match it with the blue in the sky, but because we shot that so late, by the time we moved setup to have the camera here, the sky had already gotten dark. Now, we tried to rescue it a little bit in post, but this was all we could do, really. Now, this is basically the first shot we see the boy. This is one of my favorite shots, by the way, where very much inspired by Wong Kar-wai's work in Blade Runner 2049, the Las Vegas stuff, of course, the orange. The use of orange here is kind of that warmth of passion being slowly reignited. Although that may sound pretentious, that was kind of the idea. And also it just looks really nice. But this is the first time that our boy character here is shot on a tripod or on a, something locked down, because he feels a bit more comfortable. It's his, because he hears the music, and the music is ultimately what's important to him. He becomes more stable. And the colors here, we really wanted to push the colors, both orange and green. A nice shot here of him entering the factory, but really, as you'll see in just a bit, keep going, come on. The green is very exaggerated, not too much, but we wanted to give it a slightly dreamlike aesthetic, slightly unbelievable here and there, just slightly. There's a nice frame within a frame there from our cinematographer, making sure that it felt like a departure from the normal world, which I guess served as also a clue to the ending. And here we have, okay, this nice story about this shot. This shot is like, because, by the way, I'm inspired by a lot of filmmakers. I've already talked about some of the influences for this film, but this shot is straight out of La La Land. I realized slightly later on in the writing process that the reason these characters come together is very, very similar to the reason that Emma Stone meets Ryan Gosling in that film. And so I wanted the shot to kind of pay homage to that, which was why we did it as a kind of like a sideways shot, as opposed to tracking the character from behind, in the same way that Damien Chazelle shot Emma Stone as she kind of was about to she was walking home after her car got towed or whatever, and she comes across the music in the same way here. And then we kind of, I was initially going to cut to a reaction shot, but our cinematographer was like, why don't we just, move it in like that? And it was, it felt more organic. So I was like, yeah, of course, let's do that. It's a nice lighting there. Great job from our cinematographer. And yeah, so we managed to get this done all in one take, which was nice, because really what we were trying to go for was that if we could tell a story in one shot, then let's do it. Again, the really exaggerated greens. Now, remember when I told you to pay attention to that shot of him, of the still shot, because you'll notice that this shot is kind of, it mirrors the other one, but it's a lot greener because it has a more dreamlike feel, but then it pans up, unlike the other one, to really, because that guy works at the factory, so he knows the factory, right? But with this kid, a lot of the walking in shot, a lot of the walking around shots are with the boy, because we're discovering the factory with him and not the other guy. Because the boy's never been in the factory, right? So we pan up to really show everything. A really nice wide shot. Great choice of lens, by the way, from our cinematographer. And I guess you could say that it's kind of like this sea of possibilities, whereas that guy, he's kind of trapped in that one frame, whereas here the frame is constantly moving and shows this large space as like a sea of possibilities, as I said. It also looks really nice. Now this shot, we use the dolly. This, I guess, is very sort of Fincher inspired, because the guy loves moving the cameras very precisely and subtly. I got our key grip to really kind of follow the boy as accurately as possible as he's tracking down the source of the song. He finds the speakers over there. He finds the iPhone, which he's very, very intrigued by, which is another clue to the ending. He's kind of inspecting the iPhone because he'd never really seen anything like this. He's from a poor family, really. And then he walks into the old man, who has also come searching for the music. We switched to handheld to really emphasize that shot. I'm going to have a drink now. He switches off the music. Alright. And there's a look of shock on his face, which is another clue to the ending. And then, how'd you get in here? You go back, and this is where, all the characters meet for the first time. I'm just going to look at the camera quickly. Jesus, I've been filming for half an hour. Okay, so they start speaking, and I don't really have much to say about this, really. They just start speaking. I can skip this bit, to be honest. Oh, yeah, one thing, which is where I'm going to wait until we cut to the, here. There isn't anything too fancy about the blocking, because we really didn't have time to figure it out on the day. But one thing you'll notice, the boy, who's wearing a white shirt, inspired by Miles Teller from Whiplash. You might notice in Whiplash that Miles Teller starts off wearing a white shirt and then ends up wearing a black shirt, to show his descent into darkness, whatever. But anyway, a boy's wearing a white shirt to kind of show like the pureness of him. And then he's the only one who's lit by a source of proper lighting that you see in the film, because he's basically lit by kind of the light of innocence, basically. And whereas our man here is standing in front of a machine, again, his life is a machine. Whereas the old man is standing against his kind of old, worn down table, which kind of represents the old world and the slightly more old-fashioned stuff, because that is an old table compared to this one on the left here. And that was kind of a nice detail that we got. But really, the dialogue here is just, you might notice that this guy's kind of like, he's got his guard up, whereas this guy, the old man, he's a lot more forward. He's a lot more forward, and that's another clue to the ending. And they kind of begin to realize that they share something, that they share their love for music, and this is where that realization is becoming something. And he starts talking about, he's very open, again, he's very open, which is why this was purposeful for the ending. He's very open, and we see, okay, so this guy starts to really have a bit of a meltdown about his life and how life hasn't been kind to him, and he's trying to hit him down and he can't get back up anymore. And of course our boy who has just experienced that is also having that feeling that, I don't think I can do this anymore. Whereas this guy, who kind of has the upper hand in the conversation, I guess, begins to talk about his experiences, his regrets, the things he's done, things he hasn't done. Great performance, by the way. And so these two are kind of essentially telling these two what to do. Now here we go. This, I think, is probably, you can read the subtitles, you can't hear the audio, but this was a really great sort of moment, and I really wanted to emphasize this. I knew right away when I was writing, pause for a second, that I wanted to make this a big moment. And when writing the script, I was kind of inspired by Sing Street, Jack Renner's meltdown sequence in that film. But the long take aspect of the camera slowly dollying in was more inspired by Birdman, the Emma Stone meltdown, to Michael Keaton, which is why there's a nice sort of lingering look of reaction shot from him after he's done, similar to Birdman. But yeah, the camera's slowly dollying in and he's just giving it all, he's laying it all out, talking about how horrible his life is. And it was nice because he says it because it's the first time he acknowledges it out loud, but we've seen what it's like, haven't we? So, again, he's saying that his life is shit, but he loves music, and that's what keeps him slightly passionate. He's thrown it away in some ways, but it is at the back of his head in some ways. I think a lot of the people that day when we were shooting were really impressed by our actor's performance in the scene. He was really good. It's probably the best moment of acting. So yeah, it's kind of like Jack Renner from Sing Street, I guess. And then we have a nice reaction shot here, and then this guy says, you can still do it because he can, really. That's the message of the film. As long as you hold on, that was the message. As long as you hold on to your passion, as long as you can hold on, that's all you need, That's the message. And I think the one thing I liked about our actor here and the performance he gave was that he was really able to go from this really cold and distant character to someone of so much warmth. And that was something I really needed. And again, there is this sense of, he's so kind and he's so compassionate, but we've seen him, we've seen both sides of him, basically. I think he did improvise quite a bit of this. Actually, there was a bit of improv from our actors. They were improvising quite a bit, but it was nice. He opens the song, and it's a moment of warmth and it's a moment of reassurance for both of our characters right here. And they essentially leave with their faith reinstalled, which is why they're lit with this orange. It's the passion coming back into their lives, especially these two, all three of them, really. Again, we kind of like put the camera up a bit. Okay, now this scene. I mentioned earlier a little bit about how I wanted to use color to separate them and how at the end, the red has completely taken over. Now this shot was very, very much inspired by Only God Forgives, which I've said many times is basically gold standard for films shot in Thailand. And I wanted to show that for better or worse, this red light of passion has taken over him and he's given himself to the music. Black Swan style, I guess. And then, okay, you might notice that he's fixed the guitar. He's fixed the guitar, or something. The guitar's there, and he's writing music. Here, our M character he's getting rid of all the noodles. He's getting rid of that monotony in his life, the repetitiveness. He turns on the light, which just ushers this level of warmth into the room, which we've never seen before in his room. Notice there that the mirror is shattered, which kind of reflects his character and serves as a clue to the ending. And then he looks at this and he's like, "What is this? What?" And the audience, I guess, could be thinking, "What is he looking at? What is he trying to get?" We had initially done this as one take, but then we had to cut it down because the pacing and the rhythm just wasn't there. And takes it out, and then and this is really old, worn down box. It's like one of those like knitting kit boxes. You know, it's a biscuit box, but everyone knows it's a knitting kit box. But inside, it's not a knitting kit. It is some old notes from his past, which also suggest they are suggesting to the ending. And we slowly pan up, great camera movement from our cinematographer here. And then, you know, we got some guitar strings, we got this and that, and we aged this. Our family friend wrote all that, and we photocopied it and aged it, you know, with tea bags and coffee. Our art director did that. And here, this is a nice performance. I remember seeing this, and this is something I learned really quickly, was that the moments in which I enjoyed the most for the film was where I was just kind of sitting at the monitor watching the actors perform, because I felt like there was a safety net there. Because even if I had made a really bad film, I still had those great performances from these, you know, veterans of the Thai film industry to rely on. And, you know, there were great performances, and I think everyone said so, and I think they speak for themselves. And so they really did help the film. Okay. So yeah, he closes the door from his bathroom, and we pan here. It's on a lockdown shot on a tripod now. He puts his pen down. Pen's an important symbol, another clue. And he looks into the mirror, but this time, unlike the look of emptiness and regret that we saw earlier, it's a look of satisfaction, it's a look of fulfillment. He's done something into his life. He's given younger people, younger generations, the knowledge they need to succeed, and he's smiling, and there's a look of, you know, he's happy, he's succeeded. And this nice wide, bam, there we go. And then, whoa, he disappears. Why does that happen? Well, you got to look at the clues to figure that out for yourself, but it's up to interpretation, really. You can, yeah, that's the name of the title, which is also a clue, but yeah, I think the whole point is that we did design that to be, and then this is the biggest reveal to the clue. I'm saying this, the director and writer is saying that, you know, if you want to know what the ending is, you got to really read between the lines. So yeah, that's that. And yeah, so that was what I did. That was the process. That was the intention for the film. I hope that you enjoyed it if you watched it. I hope that what I was trying to convey, what we were trying to convey, because something I learned very, very quickly was this was a genuine team effort. You know, no way in hell I could have done this by myself. And I would describe this as our film and not my film, because really, no way in hell I would have been able to do this on my own. And I have the utmost level of respect and thanks to all the people who worked so hard to help a 17-year-old skinny Asian kid get a step further to achieving his dreams. And really, I guess, essentially, we had designed the ending to be up to interpretation, right? And we wanted to leave clues. We didn't want it to make it too vague to the point where it just feels like he disappears and that's it, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. We wanted you to be able to watch the film again, or maybe even for the first time, and really pick up certain moments that would lead up and build up to this ending. But this was one of the 2 days of filming were one of the best days of my life. Full honesty, right? And I learned very quickly that if this was what I had to, I would gladly do this 365 days a year and not be tired and still be as energetic and enthusiastic about it, because really that's where I belong, I think. And, you know, production, doing just on the days of shooting, you know, it's where I felt like I was at home. It's where I felt like my vision mattered, and all these different people, because I felt so good. Like it's the biggest high you could possibly get, writing a script, having these awesome actors read your lines and having all these people, 30 plus people, come together to help me realize my vision and contributing to that and collaborating with me and helping me improve as a filmmaker. And that was the best gift that I could ask for, any filmmaker could ask for. And honestly, it is the best feeling in the world, just sitting by the monitor and looking at all these different people who have come together to tell a story, to tell a good story. And I hope that's what we did. And I hope that on some level we did affect you in a way, if you've seen the film, and reignite a passion in you, maybe, I don't know, but like it truly was an outstanding experience for me, and it was a life-changing experience for me, and it was definitely that final nail in the coffin for me, you know, what that I should pursue this, because I had never really made a proper film like this before. I had done a short film with my friends, but that, I think, I learned very quickly after making this that was a very inaccurate representation. But I am proud of this, and I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you found some form of entertainment or something from it. But yeah, that was my very, very, very detailed analysis of my film. I basically gave away pretty much everything except for that ending, you know, in terms of the process as well and the story. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you're still here, I doubt I'm going to edit this much, because I don't think that anything I've said should be cut out. But yeah, this was the most ambitious, this film was the most ambitious thing I've ever done. And I am so thankful to everyone for helping me realize this. And yeah, I guess I'm going to thank you as well, because you watched this video to the very end. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope that I will be able to make more films of this quality, of this caliber, of this production value for you guys to see. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. Thank you.